Okay, so in the last lecture we discussed two examples, and what we saw was, in both the cases when we find the Laplace transform of that signal. So the important thing is we have to specify the region in which these transforms are valid. So in the last lecture we saw that if you want to calculate the Laplace transform of any signal, that is, if you want to calculate the Laplace transform XS, what you have to see is, other than that of solving it, you have to actually specify the region of convergence also, which is very important, because without region of convergence, the Laplace transform of any signal is of no use. And we will see that, there are some signals which has same Laplace transform but different signals in time domain, and the reason for that is they have a different ROC. So that means if you want to convert from XS to XT, that is if you want to do inverse transform from XS to XT, it is not possible without knowing the region of convergence. Region of convergence actually helps you out in identifying the unique XT from XS, because XS can have multiple, XTs, X1T, X2T. So based on these X1T, X2T, you can have same Laplace transform. So only which one is correct depends upon the extra information of region of convergence which is provided along with XS, that will help you out in, finding out the inverse Laplace transform XT from XS, using this information, this ROC information. So collecting of all the, so basically what happens is ROC is nothing but it's a area where your signal is getting converged, while for other areas, the signal will be diverging and you cannot calculate the Laplace transform and not even the Z transform there. So ROC, the name suggests, as the name says, region of convergence, means it's an area which you shade on the complex plane, and that area is the area where the signal is actually converging and it's not diverging. Okay, so also we know some of the subtle points, that Laplace transform is actually nothing but it is equivalent to Fourier transform of signal xt e to the power minus sigma t. So these things I have explained in the last lecture also. That is, the Laplace transform is nothing but it is equivalent to the Fourier transform of xt exponential sigma t also coming along with xt, which actually some way or the other helps in making this divergent signal xt convergent by multiplying it with exponential signal. But you have to see that this particular thing, this particular multiplication should be in such a way, that is the very this parameter sigma has to be selected in such a way that this exponential should not also become convergent. It should also be sorry, this sigma has to be selected in such a way that your exponential should always be convergent. So if you take sigma, let us say if you take sigma negative, then what will happen is your exponential will also become divergent and it will multiply with xt, which is again divergent, and then you cannot calculate the Laplace transform. So the important point is selection of this sigma, which actually, is some way or the other linked to the region of convergence. So when you say region of convergence, shaded region of convergence, some way or the other, you are ensuring that this factor which is over here is actually convergent, and when it is multiplied with this divergent signal, the whole thing will become convergent, and then you can calculate the Laplace transform. So, so the next important thing that I want to discuss here is that the convergence condition for the Laplace transform of the signal xt, that is convergence conditions, which we have already discussed in case of Fourier series and Fourier transform also. So the convergence conditions for Laplace transform of xt are identical to the convergence condition for convergence condition for Fourier transform of xt exponential sigma t. So whatever convergence condition we have seen for Fourier transform of a signal, the same convergence conditions will be applied for Laplace transform also. So using the Dirichlet condition that we have seen earlier, we need our signal this to be absolutely integrable. So in order for the Laplace transform to exist, what we do is we actually see whether the absolute integral this is convergent or not. So what we are in case of Fourier transform, we had only xt there, but now in the Laplace transform, as I told you that the convergence condition for the Laplace transform is same as that of the Fourier transform. So the equation will remain same, but the only its difference is that you have a exponential also along with xt. So now in order to see the convergence of the Laplace transform, what we have to do is we have to see that this absolute integral has to be having a finite value and should be less than infinite. So some way or the other, this particular convergence criteria which we have is basically a more flexible and versatile condition as compared to that of the Fourier transform. So let us see why this particular expression has more versatility as compared to that of the Fourier transform. So in case of Fourier transform, the convergence condition is like this. If you recall, the convergence conditions were that you have an exponential here and then you do dt. So this is not there. So you have to see whether this signal is convergent or not. So in case of Fourier transform, if the signal is absolutely integrable, then it's okay, it will be existing. But if the signal is not absolutely integrable and if it is diverging, then you say that the Fourier transform do not exist. You say that Fourier transform do not exist if xt is divergent. And if it is if it is divergent, so you will say Fourier transform do not exist. That means it's a binary question. It's a binary question that if it exists, then your answer is 1, and if do not exist, your answer is 0. So you cannot do anything about it. By seeing the signal only you can say that this particular transform exists or not. So it's a binary question there, 1 or 0. Whereas in contrast, if the signal is not absolutely integrable, as we have already, as this signal which we are talking about, if it is not absolutely integrable, then we may still find the value of sigma, for which the modified signal, which is this one, can be absolutely integrable. As I told you just before also, what we are looking here in case of Laplace transform is we have this exponential also multiplied with xt. So in case of Laplace transform, we can still find this particular signal to be, we can still find a convergence of this particular signal, because this exponential is convergent and this is divergent. So multiplying both of them, the result will be convergent depending upon the value of sigma. So what we can say is that the Laplace transform of this signal xt may still exist. It can still exist for some specific values of sigma. And the question of the existence of Laplace transform is not a binary case. So it is not that you have, in case of Laplace transform, you have to decide, okay, if signal xt is divergent, so there is no Laplace transform. And if the signal xt is convergent, there is a Laplace transform. The question is, it's not a binary question in case of Laplace transform. In case of Laplace transform, what is that? It is that you have to find the value of sigma, which actually makes this complete signal convergent. Then you will be able to find the Laplace transform of xt. So basically this sigma actually, here, as I told you also earlier, it is basically the ROC thing. So when you are specifying ROC, you are actually specifying the behavior of this exponential function. You are telling that in that arrow, in that region of convergence, your this particular factor is actually convergent and not divergent. So when you ensure that this factor is convergent, then you multiply this with this, you will get the convergent behavior. Otherwise it will be divergent. So whenever you specify ROC, you are specifying this particular thing, where you will ensure that this factor is convergent. So this is, these are the subtle differences between the Laplace transform and Fourier transform, and these are the these are the important points you should keep in mind, that why even having a Fourier transform we require Laplace transform, because Laplace transform is actually a superset actually. You can say Laplace transform is like this and Fourier transform is within this. This is Fourier transform, this is Laplace transform. So this thing is important. So if you have any questions related to this explanation, you can ask. Otherwise, we will solve some questions here a little bit, and then just wanted to give you a flavor of what this is and how important ROC is. Any questions here?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, we just said that in Fourier transform we have to decide whether it's possible or not, and in Laplace transform you don't have to decide this. It is
No, no, we
possible.
have to decide. In the case of Laplace transform, we have to decide, but that decision is, depending upon the value of sigma. Whereas in case of Fourier transform, you can immediately, by seeing the signal, whether that signal is divergent, you can straight away say that the Fourier transform will not exist by
Sir, so
clearly seeing that.
for example, if we take x of t is equal to t, so
Yes,
we know that its Fourier transform would be possible as it is divergent.
yes.
Okay. So what will be the Laplace transform for that?
So Laplace transform, you have to
Will it be
multiply it with exponential. Then what will happen is, this is your this t, right? Oh, sorry. This is the one which you are saying, right? So in this case, what will happen
yes?
is you multiply it with exponential. So what will happen is it will actually try to make this convergent, because exponential you have to see which ROC it's like, what value of sigma, your exponential will be like this decaying. So when you multiply these two together, ultimately it will also become convergent. So then you can solve the Laplace transform for that. But you
But
have to
sir, like
specify
the
the value of
limit,
sigma.
sir, actually I solved with the integral, but like if we don't limit the t with t greater than 0, then it becomes infinite only.
No, so that condition is already, I guess, there's not TUT. If it is there, then only you will do it, right? So
Like if it is not mentioned, like if it is just t, like it is just a straight line which is passes through the origin,
then you have to look for both the
then
cases. Then you have to divide this T into two parts. One is plus side and negative side, and solve both for both of them. Then your ROC will be a intersection or something like that. Because then your signal is in both the sides, right? On the in the positive side also and in the negative sides also. So
yes,
you have to take the summation and solve these two separately, and then take the common ROC which is actually satisfying both the signals. Okay.
okay.
So you have to satisfy that common ROC where that sigma satisfies both the signals, and then you can find the Laplace transform. Okay, so our question is, let us say if you have e to the power at ut, let us say we have this. So this is our signal xt. So let me know like what will be the result and what is the ROC for this particular signal. I'll give you a few minutes to solve it. It's a very simple question, but as far as the concept is concerned, it's very important to discuss it. So let us have this signal and you calculate the value of the Laplace transform here along with the ROC.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So 1 upon s minus s.
Okay. What about the ROC?
Sir, like ROC will be, so like I'm not able to like clear out the concept like how to find out the condition for ROC, but
Okay.
I figured out the answer by
No, but
like
the thing is,
the following example.
without ROC, your answer is of no use, because you have to practice questions for that. But I will be explaining it here. But once you get to know how to calculate it, it's important to get the ROC along with the signal, because somewhere or the other, without that, I have already told you the concept that without ROC, your signal is of no use.
So as far as I am understanding, I guess ROC will be just a real part of h will be greater than 0.
No, it's not that. I will show you once you get to know, and once you will get to know the details like how to do it, then for other signals you will be easily solving it. There will be no problems. But you have to understand the fundamentals before going into just looking around and see like, okay, real part of s is greater than 0. It's not like that. You have to go into the course and understand what's going on. Then only this concept of ROC will be clear. But I think we solved these questions last time also, two questions on ROC. But I think you were not able to, gather the concepts. Then no problem. Today we will be discussing it again, and then once it is done, I guess then you will be able to solve ROCs for the others.
Sir,
Yes.
ROC is a minus 1 upon A plus S.
Minus 1 upon.
A plus S.
No, 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 no. This is not ROC. This is somewhere or the other you are calculating the Laplace transform of the signal. Oh, this is what I feel, but this answer is also wrong. It's not correct. Okay, so let me solve it for you. Next question you solve by yourself. So, so let us say, um, just a second. So let us say if you have this question, right, e to the power at ut. So what you do, you know the definition of Laplace, right? It's minus infinity to infinity x of t e to the power minus st dt. This is what you know. And now you know the signal is e to the power at ut. So basically ut is the unit step which is from 0 to extending. So what we can do is we can cut off our limit from 0 to infinity now, because there is no point in dealing with the minus infinity to 0 because it's multiplied by unit step. So now what is left is e to the power at minus st dt. Okay, so now this integral is quite easy to solve. So what you have as the answer is a minus s t, and you are from 0 to infinity. So now the important point is, basically that your a which you have here, it can be complex also. So let us say that it's a complex signal. Just to explain you the concepts, it's very important. So that's why we are doing this detail. But there is no point in doing this detail every time. But just explaining you for your, so that you will get to know what exactly ROC is and how we are calculating it. So if it is a complex number, let us say a is represented by your a real part plus j times imaginary part. So this is your thing. And then when you know that S is also represented by sigma plus j omega, where sigma is the real part and omega is the imaginary part. So if you substitute these values here, what will be the answer? It will be AR plus JAI minus sigma minus j omega. So this is what you will obtain in the bottom. And in the numerator, what you will get is uh, e to the power AR plus JAI minus sigma minus j omega, and then you have t here and 0 to infinity. So this is what you have here. Now what we are doing is, now I will actually collect these terms. So let me write it again. So I will collect the real parts. So it will be AR minus sigma, and then we have t this side, and then j, then you have AI minus omega t, and then you have this. So we have this expansion here, and the important point that has to be noted here is, we have to focus on this part which is here, because and we are actually looking for real parts, and we have this minus sigma, but along with that we have real part of a also here. So we want this signal, we want to focus on this, because and that too at the situation where we have infinite value. So when we substitute infinite, at that point we have to focus on this. For 0, already both the terms will become 1 when you substitute the value of t. So at the point where you have infinity, at that situation we have to deal with this particular integral. So what happens is, you have to see, like, if this AR minus sigma is less than 0, if this is the situation, at that point what will happen? At that point this particular, exponential will become, it will become what? It will become convergent, because you are saying that, you are forcing your AR minus sigma to be less than 0. At that situation, this particular signal will become convergent, and when it will be multiplied with the other part here, then the whole thing will become convergent. So the important thing is, we want to make this convergent. So in order to make this convergent, we are saying that AR minus sigma is less than 0. So when we are saying this, we can write it other way around, that is sigma is greater than AR. And what is sigma? Sigma is basically nothing but it's a real part of S. And what is AR? It is real part of A. So this means you are saying that in ROC you will be here, and for this particular area, or for this particular region of convergence which we have derived, this particular integral, or this particular exponential, sorry, will be convergent. So anything multiplied with this convergent will always be convergent, so there is no problem at all. So here you observe that this particular thing is convergent because of this factor, or because of this consideration. So once you have this, then you can easily write, right? Then you can write, this particular thing, when you substitute infinity here, then this will become 0, because it's a negative exponential, and at time t equal to infinity it will tends to 0. So this will be 0, and for 0 it will be 1. So what you have now is, let me, rewrite this expression again in terms of A, and this in terms of S. So it will be A minus S, and then, this is 0, because ROC is selected in such a way which forces this exponential to become 0, and then we have 1 here. So once you, this comes when you put time t equal to 0, and this comes when you put time t equal to infinity. So once you have this, your answer is 1 over S minus A, which is the answer, and this is your region of convergence. And if you want to show it on a complex plane, then it is like this. You have, this is basically your sigma and j omega plane, and then you have uh, just a second, you can draw it like this. So this is your line, where this actually point is AR, and you are actually greater than this. So you can see this is your ROC. And note that for all this area where, where this, in this area where you have, which is prohibited, in this area this exponential is diverging. So that's why this is also clearly seen here, that your sigma is less than AR. So if sigma is less than AR, then this exponential will be positive, and you put t equal to infinity, it will explode. So this ROC is somewhere or the other ensuring that your this term is convergent, which results in 0 here. Okay, now any questions here? Okay, so now I think you can calculate the ROCs for most of the signals, but let us solve one more example, and I will try to show you, like, what is the importance of ROC here. So let us say you have this ROC, let us say you have this question, this one. Now you calculate the ROC as well as the Laplace transform of this signal. I'll give you a few minutes to solve.
So the Laplace transform will be 1 upon S plus A, and ROC will be real part of S should be greater
Oh,
than
just a second.
minus of real
Actually,
part of.
just a second. There was a mistake. It is plus here, it's not minus. Okay. So calculate again and check whether what will be the answer.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Laplace transform will be 1 upon a minus s, and ROC will be real of less than a.
real of s less than a.
a.
Okay. I think your this answer is not right, but this is right, but this your calculation is not right. You have to check this.
Sir, it's
Sir,
1 upon
minus
s
1
minus.
upon a.
Yes, so it is s minus a only, right? So it will be the same as the one on the top. So let me do it for all of you so that at least who have not solved it, you will get to know what exactly is going on here. So answer is 1 over s minus a, and the real part of s is less than a. That is important thing. So let me erase this and solve it. So you know that xs is nothing but it's a integral from minus infinity to infinity, and then you have here minus e to the power at, and then you have u minus t e to the power minus st dt. Now you know that this is a unit step with a negative direction, so everything which is evaluated will be from minus infinity to 0, and 0 to infinity will not be there because unit step is not there. So that unit step is removed with the change in the signs, change in the integral evaluation. So now you have this here. So now if you see closely, then you have basically somewhere or the other you have if you recall our earlier derivation, then it will be a minus s, and then you have exponential. If you repeat in the same way as I did in the earlier example, it is ar plus jar jai minus sigma minus j omega t, and it is running from minus infinity to 0. So now what you can do, you can replace this by s minus a because you can consume it here. So it will be 1 upon s minus a, and then you can separate the two, ar minus sigma t, and then you have a j ai minus omega t, and then you have minus infinity to 0. So this time if you observe, the problem is with the integral at minus infinity. Earlier it was with plus infinity, but this time problem is with minus infinity. So you can see now that if your t is minus infinity, then for what value of this argument it will be convergent. So it will be convergent if your ar minus sigma is greater than 0. Everybody agrees with this? Because if ar minus sigma is positive and your t is negative, then it is convergent. So from here you can see that your sigma is less than ar, which in turn is nothing but real part of s is less than real part of a. So and if a is not complex, then you can simply write a also here. So now once
Sir,
you yes,
sir, sir, if we are taking a AR minus sigma greater than 0, won't the signal will be divergent?
which one, ar minus sigma greater than 0?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Because
Because
it's not negative. If it would be negative, then we can take the coefficient greater than 0.
no, but your time is negative, right? If you see the limits,
Okay, okay, okay,
right?
okay. Right.
Because your time is negative, when it is substituted here, if you make this negative, then it will become positive, right? So that's why.
Yes.
So this is the reason why we are taking it as greater than 0. So from here, this is the condition that you got, and if you solve the above, it's very easy. You will get s minus a. This you can solve easily, and then you have this ROC situation where you have real part of s is less than a. That means if you plot this on sigma j omega curve, then wherever your a is, where whatever the value of your A is, let us say your value of A is, this. Let me write it here. So what happens is your ROC is nothing but it's on this side. So this will be your ROC. So now the key important takeaway point from here is that if you observe our earlier example, this example, here your answer is 1 over s minus a. For this example also, your answer is 1 over s minus a. But if you want to, if you are given 1 over s minus a, let us say, as the question, and if we ask you that what is the signal xt corresponding to this 1 over s minus a, then you cannot answer, because both the signals, the one which is given over here also is a 1 gives you 1 over s minus a, and this answer also gives you the one which we have started out with. Just a second, where it is, this one. This answer also is giving you answer 1 over s minus a. Then how to select from this and this? The only way to select from this to this is by using ROC. You can see your ROC here. Here in the case of e to the power at ut, your ROC is to the right of this AR, and for this signal e to the power at u of minus t, your ROC is to the left of this signal, left of this line AR. So by seeing these observations, by seeing ROCs, you can actually interpret it that 1 over s minus a will be e to the power at ut, or it will be minus e to the power at u of minus t. And one important key takeaway point here is this one, and the second is, you can see this is a causal signal and this is anti-causal because it's on the negative side. So another interpretation is that for causal signal, your ROC is to the right of the lines, to the right of this particular line, and for anti-causal systems, the ROCs will be to the left of the line. So this is actually another important point which we will discuss in our next lecture. But you have to keep this in mind that same signal is giving, or sorry, different signal gives same Laplace transform, but the only way to select the right one is based on the information of ROC. Okay. So as we are discussing these ROCs, let me give you some characteristics of these ROCs. What are the typical characteristics of ROC? The typical characteristics of this ROC are that for finite duration of ROC, for finite duration of signals, for finite duration of the signals, the ROC is basically the entire S-plane. The ROC is nothing but it's an entire S-plane, provided the signal is absolutely integrable. That is the important condition. And the extreme points of real part of S tending to plus minus infinity thing has to be dealt separately, needs to be looked or checked separately. So for finite duration signals, your ROC will be entire S-plane, but you have to deal with these certain criteria like plus minus infinity separately to look for where it is satisfying. The second is for a general signal, ROC is in the form of a vertical strip. ROC will be in the form of a vertical strip. It is either to the right of the vertical line or to the left of the vertical line or between the vertical lines. So as you saw, your ROC is actually either left to the vertical line or to the right to the vertical line, this side. So, or it can be possible that it is in between the vertical lines. So let me draw it So here you have one case in which your ROC here is to the right of the vertical line at a specific value of sigma 1 here, and then in some situations you will get a ROC where your ROC will be onto the left of this vertical line, and in some situations it will happen that your ROC will be in between these vertical lines. So this situation happens when you have two signals combined together. One signal is having a positive part, and the same signal will be having some component in the negative part also, and you combine these two together, so that when you solve that, what you get is somewhere or the other the intersection between the ROCs. So that is, if this particular situation is nothing, but something like this. If you join these two together in some intersections, it might be the case that you will get this type of situation. So we will discuss more of these ROC properties and the properties of the Laplace transform in our next class. So for today's class it's done. So if you have any questions, you let me know, and let me take the attendance. Okay, so if you do not have any questions, then we can leave the class now. Thank you.